Alright fellas, last international window of the year, you were pretty good against Japan as well as Paraguay. We just got the wins, but honestly, I think we all know we can perform a bit better than that, and we'll need to here, because we're going to Africa to take on Ghana and Senegal, two teams above us on the world rankings. But I trust you guys to get the job done. Our World Cup record against these type of teams is great, okay? So let's just pretend it's a World Cup, pick up some wins, and surely this time, if we do that, we'll make our way into the top 30 of the world rankings. They can't keep us out any longer. We keep winning. We've got to make it soon. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 116 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Tech and the All Whites. And coming up today, it's the last international window of 2035. We're off to Africa to take on both Ghana and Senegal. So if you're looking forward to that as well as an update on the National League Championship at Cashmere Tech, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. Today we played the Chatham Cup final against Western Suburbs with Cashmere Tech. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Unsurprisingly, did pick up a win in that game. The scoreline, if we go and have a look at that as well as the fixtures that we've played since then, was 4-0 in our favour. And since then, we've played 5 more games in the championship phase and won all of them. First up, 2-0 over Northern Rovers, then Fresh Western Springs 8-1 before the two big teams historically in the save so far. Apart from us, we beat Auckland City 4-2. A little bit sloppy there, conceding 2 goals to Stipe Ukic, who is still banging the goals in there for Auckland City, but they continue to struggle despite the fact that he's doing quite well. And then 3-2 over Western Suburbs. That's an interesting game. There was an own goal there to both teams, and after being dominant in the first half, we actually went to half-time being 2-1 behind, but thankfully an own goal in the second half, and then Tim Anderson, who scored the own goal for his former team with a late header to make sure that we just escaped from my arena there with a 3-2 win. So that game definitely a lot closer than the one you saw yesterday in the Chatham Cup final, and then a bit easier as we beat Havelock North 3-0. So it does mean with just one game left against Christchurch United, who we should be being considering our Southern League form, and the fact that we're unbeaten so far this season, we are on top of the table, and the final is already booked in. It will yet again be us and Western Suburbs, and they'll be coming up in tomorrow's episode. So that's already locked in. As you can see, we were never really in doubt of making the final. 8 wins, third place only has 3 wins. Us and Western Suburbs, clearly the best 2 teams in New Zealand this season. And also worth noting, the bottom 5, that includes all 4 teams from the Northern League. So I think the Northern League maybe don't deserve as many spots in the National League Championship next season. Not that will happen, because that's just how it's programmed into Football Manager. But the Northern League, embarrassing. Southern League and the Central League doing all the heavy lifting here in the National League Championships. That's what's going on at Cashmere Tech. And also, before we get stuck in to this window coming up, we actually got for another one during that patch of recent games with the All Whites taking on both Paraguay and Japan. First up was the clash against Paraguay. This was quite a scrappy game, but thankfully we escaped here with a 1-0 win, despite the fact this time Enciso was playing for Paraguay there. Pickering heads that one away at the far post. That was the only goal. As you can see, not many shots there from either team, but thankfully we had a couple more, made that early one count, and picked up a 1-0 win. Off the back of that, a week later, we then took on Japan, who are ranked a bit higher than Paraguay, in a game that was a lot more entertaining, albeit we got off to a horrible start in this one. Straight from the kickoff here, Japan make their way down that left-hand side. Shin puts that one to the mixer. For some reason, White gets out jumped there by Hamajima, and Japan go up early. But thankfully, pretty much right off the back of that, we go down the other end. Darman down the right-hand side puts this one in there for Josh Pickering, who these days is at Porto. He got a move from the Chicago Fires. He recently has been playing Champions League football and scoring goals for those guys, but thankfully got us back to all square. And then George McDonald there with a goal at the half-hour mark to give us a 2-1 lead going into half-time. But unfortunately, second half got underway, and 10 minutes into it, Japan, they grabbed an equaliser here. Bit average that from Alex Paulson, getting beaten there by Akeda at his near post, but thankfully, just making our way into injury time in this game. Good little backflip there to George McDonald, and Tyler Bindon far post put that one away just do enough there to beat Japan up at North Harbour Stadium. So pretty good wins for us there over teams who are ranked higher than us on the world rankings. Would have been pretty go if we didn't win that game, considering we had 10 shots on target. Japan only 3, as I said. Not the best game there from Alex Paulson, especially that second goal, which we did concede, but unfortunately, that's done absolutely nothing for our world ranking. We are still in 31st. Not too sure what we could do to actually move up the world rankings at this point. We're beating teams above us, but it doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. But now we're into November, and we take on some African opposition. First up, we'll take on Ghana. They're the higher ranked team in this window, up in 18th in the world, so this could be a bit of a tough one. Hopefully can pick up a decent result, but I'm hopeful off the back of that we can then beat Senegal. Just go back here to the schedule so I can click on the right team, because they are the weakest team we've taken on for a little while, just one spot above us in 30th. If we can beat those guys, surely we'll sneak our way into that top 30 for the end of 2035. So that's what's coming up in today's episode. We won't do a bus trip because honestly, I've fallen behind. I need to record the final straight off the back of this and want to make sure I get it done in time. So there's not going to be a bus trip, and to be fair, international bus trips can be a bit difficult, especially over in Africa. So we'll skip these ones and do some bus trips at some stage next year when we are at Cashmere Tech or an international window with the All Whites orbit. I'm not too sure if we have OFC Nations Cup kicking in next year to start our qualification process for the next FIFA World Cup. But before we get into this game, the first one where we take on Ghana, a couple of injuries heading into this window, and that does mean some significant changes for our team. Unfortunately, a couple of those goal scorers from that Japan game, they are missing. You'll notice them here when you see our team and our wider squad injured. George McDonald up front, as well as his usual backup in Iwata Uelese, so really weak up front compared to normal. Craig Johnston, actually the first choice going into this window, the backup behind Uelese usually at the Phoenix, and in behind him, Prince Kamalo from Sydney United comes in, really good finishing on first touch, actually does look like a pretty good striker. He might get his first cap in this international window, but definitely going to be a bit weaker up front here without our regular captain and his usual backup. Also, centre-back, we have lost Tyler Bindon to an injury while he was playing over for Wolves. So it does mean that for this window, Simon Curtis is going to try out as a ball-playing defender, actually starting Ryan Billingsley for this first game, just because he looks a bit more natural there at central defender, as you expect, considering he's been playing for us at Cashmere Tech recently. But it does mean that Kelly Heald and McGoldrick are our other centre-backs. And also, there's been a bit of a switch at right-back. Martin Darman, still first choice according to attributes, but we've dropped Victor Sona, which is a bit harsh considering his form for the All Whites of late, actually probably a bit better than Martin Darman. Tresor Nyankuru is better these days, is our young 19-year-old wonder kid. So he's made his way into the All Whites on merit. I think long-term, he'll end up being our first choice for the remainder of the save, but he comes in, does the 19-year-old, obviously quite familiar with him, having joined us on loan at Cashmere Tech last season. So those are the changes going into this window. Hopefully we can pick up a couple of decent results, albeit some pretty big players we are missing there, in particular Tyler Bindon and George McDonald. And first up is going to be quite tough for us without those guys as we take on 18th in the world, Ghana. And here are the team sheets for this first friendly in this international window here in November. First up, the home team, Ghana, going with a 4-4-2, and they do look as well like they're in pretty good form. Are the 18th best team in the world. Here we are, 31st in the world. We ran for a couple of changes before. Also, Cody Phoenix at left back over Adam White. He's on a heavy workload, and the same applies for Jamie Kelly over Jamie Young in central attacking midfield. Hopefully, can pick up a decent result here against the team quite far above us on the world rankings. And we go just past the 10-minute mark for the first proper highlight of this game. There was one which did start before, but I adjusted some opposition instructions that cancelled it out. But not this time. A corner, they take the edge of the box, and Sam Saidu will put that one away. It's been a poor start for us here over in Africa. This might be a tricky window with some key players missing, as you saw before. But this is a bit of a soft goal to concede. Saidu, first time finish to be fair. Paulson, he can't do much about that one. It's a good finish there into the bottom left corner, and we 1-0 down early. And just going past the halfway mark here of the first half, there is a front to Ghana, albeit they give that ball straight to us did have a player off the pitch there, and they still do. So we're playing against 10 men in this highlight. Darman makes his way down the right-hand side, plays that one back in there for Evans as that player makes his way back onto the field. But Josh Pickering at the far post from that ball from Michael Cornelius Beale, the Porto man. I think the only Champions League player in the All Whites at the moment. Hopefully might get a few more if we continue to go up the world rankings. But Josh Pickering been in great form recently in the Champions League for Porto and also for the All Whites. Scored some goals as you saw before in that previous window. That is a big one. Gets us all square in Ghana. And we're just making our way into the last couple of minutes here in this first half. As you can tell from the XG match story, off back and seeing that opening goal, actually feels like we've been the better team in this game, and thankfully going to half-time locked up at 1-1. To be fair, considering the injuries we've got in this window, I'd take that result and hopefully can back it up with a win over Senegal in a couple of days' time. A couple of players out there, though, did drop down to red hearts quite late in that first half. Martin Darman, he is one to Tresor can come on for him. And also Jamie Kelly does look pretty tired. Coming on for him will be Young, the former Cashmere Tech man, of course, these days over at the Wollongong Wolves. To be fair, he usually is first choice. Just think that Jamie Kelly is a bit better at the moment without our usual captain in terms of leadership. So that's the reason we've started him in this one. But a couple of changes there at halftime hopefully might help us pull off an upset as we locked up at 1-1. And just coming to the hour mark in this game, no highlights so far in the second half, still 1-1. But Louis Evans has dropped down to a red heart now. Anto Bratic is not on a full green heart, so it does mean our options here are Ollie McGoldrick or Stamenic. I do think Stamenic might be a bit more natural in midfield. That's our first sub of the second half, still 3 left, as it's locked up at 1-1. And going forward exactly 10 minutes off the back of that first sub of the second half, now it's time for another one. Cody Phoenix, this time down to red hearts. Another first choice player will come on in Adam White. And just making way into the last 15 minutes of this game, still no highlights in the second half, and a couple of players out there aren't on too good of ratings up front, and Justin Keat and Craig Johnston. So it's going to be a debut here for Prince Kamalo, and also bring on Chris Jones out right. And we also, while we're here, might just go a bit wider and see maybe if distributing the fullbacks might help kick something off here in the second half, because so far it's been up to absolutely nothing, albeit wouldn't be a bad result for us here against the 18th best team in the world, but with 10 minutes to go, still 1-1. And we are now in the last couple of minutes of this game. Stats-wise, we've actually been the better team in this game, so it would be quite nice if we could pick up a win. We're just going to try and push here ever so slightly by putting Chris Jones onto attack. But to be fair, I'm quite content with a draw as long as we do go on and beat Senegal in our next game. And that's going to have to be it, because that is the full-time score. Absolutely nothing of note happening there in the second half. Thankfully, Josh Pickering cancelled out that early goal from Sam Saidu from a corner, which was taken out to the edge of the box. But overall, actually played quite well there against the team who were ranked above us. Maybe just missing someone like George McDonald up front to make the most of all those shots that we did have. And we did, to be fair, have quite a few shots on target as well, but unfortunately couldn't quite make the most of it. So a 1-1 draw there from our first friendly in this window. We'll come back and take on Senegal. And we are back with this friendly against Senegal. Hopefully a chance for us here to overtake these guys on the FIFA World Rankings, just one place above us. They also going with a 4-4-2. In terms of us, lots of changes from our first game, because lots of tired boys. Both centre-backs being switched out. So Kelly Heald and McGoldrick, they start at centre-back, and also Adam White at left-back. Both defensive midfielders. So Bratic, he will partner Stamenic in midfield. And we have got Chris Jones at right wing instead of Justin Keat. So quite a few changes there. Hopefully doesn't impact us too badly, and we can pick up a result here against the team who do look a bit more beatable. A corner early, unfortunately can't quite link up there with Pickering at the far post. Jones did make his way there inside the box. It did look like, though, that he was looking for a bit of a foul there inside. Unfortunately, it was not one. Let's just see if this highlight does amount to anything off the back of that. Nice ball over there for Darman. Floats that one to the mixer. Kelly floats that far post. Johnson does beat the goalkeeper there, but unfortunately can't put that one on target. That's a massive chance, but unfortunately our striker's just not doing the job in this window. Still 0-0. And we go just past the half-hour mark for the next highlight in this game. It is a corner there to Senegal. They go near post. Think that one is just off target so far. We've been the better team in this game, but unfortunately haven't been able to put the ball in the back of net, as I said in that previous one. Maybe just missing someone like George McDonald in this window. Defensively, not doing too badly, especially in this game. But Craig Johnston on a 6.4, I think. Might need to pull him off here at halftime, but pretty happy with how this is going. Hopefully, we can score a goal in the second half. But if we are to do so, need to have someone like Josh Pickering step up yet again, or Prince Kamalo coming off the bench for Craig Johnston. Hopefully he can break his virginity in an all-white shirt in only his second game, but as I said, pretty happy with how this one's going, but unfortunately still goalless. And we're just coming up to the hour mark in this game. It's still scoreless despite the fact that we are well and truly on the front foot. Darman's dropped down to red hearts. The Trestle and the Yankuru can come on for him, but also Pickering and Bruttich are struggling a little bit in terms of their match ranks. So we'll take them off for Hall Jones and Louis Evans. Hopefully, fresh legs off the bench might help us grab a goal in this game, because so far, it's been pretty boring, still 0-0. And in fact, only a few minutes on from that, it's time for another sub here. Jamie Kelly's dropped down to a red heart, our captain for this window. Jamie Young can come on for him. One more sub left in this last 27 minutes, but still 0-0. And thankfully, we eventually get a highlight here in the second half with a couple of minutes to go until we make our way into the last 20. There was a ball over the top there from Senegal, but thankfully, Kelly Heald can cut that one out. Now, Alex Paulson is on the ball, plays it for to McGoldrick, our former Cashmere Tech lad, of course, these days at the Central Coast Mariners, and he plays it for there to Evans, and now we try and make our way here out from back. Thankfully, that ball does find Chris Jones, and now Young does get in behind somewhat, takes on a shot there. That's not a great one. It goes well high and wide, but it's Stamnich who has dropped down to a red heart. So Michael Cornelis-Beale will come on with our final substitution. Let's also do what we did in that previous game, go a bit wider and distribute to fullbacks. Hopefully, put the ball in the back of the net in these last 20 minutes. Still 0-0. And very short effect of that final sub at the 69th minute is a corner here to Senegal. Lucas Kelly-Heald almost puts that one in the back of his own net. That is very fortunate, and unfortunately, as we try and do something there on the counter-attack, there is a foul. I think that was on Jacob Hall-Jones, but thankfully, Bambi on Ice does not score an own goal, and it is still 0. All about to make our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. Easily been the best team in this one, but unfortunately, still 0. So it's time for us here to go full out attack, be more expressive, and let's put as many of these players on some more positive roles as we can to see if it will help us grab a winner. And unfortunately, so far, that has not been the case. We make our way into the last 5 minutes of this game. Maybe that previous international window would have been a better watch. Let's just go here now with a higher defensive line and see if that works like it has been doing at Cashmere Tech. But unfortunately, despite the fact that we have 1.4 XG more than Senegal, we have not won that game. It's a ball draw there, 0-0. Only 4 shots on target from 21. Definitely missing George McDonald in that window. To be fair, I didn't think his recent form had been too great anyway, but I think you see there the difference between our first 2 choice strikers and the third and fourth ones might have proved costly in that window. A 0-0 draw, 2 draws over in Africa. So unfortunately, no winner in neither of those games there. In today's episode, came from behind to pick up a 1-1 draw against Ghana. Was quite happy with that result, with those guys being 18th in the world. A little bit more disappointed with that 0-0 draw against Senegal, but as I said, maybe with no Tyler Binden and especially no George McDonald, that's not too bad a window, and especially because despite that, we have actually made our way into the top 30 on the FIFA World Rankings. Must have jumped above Senegal there off the back of that 0-0 draw, which doesn't make much sense, but thankfully have got a slight move up the rankings going in to the end of 2035. But that will do it for today's episode. As I said, unfortunately, a couple of draws there, not ideal, but we are now a top 30 team. If you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. As I said earlier, we'll come back tomorrow, National League Championship Grand Final against Western Suburbs at Cashmere Tech, and hopefully this season we'll also get an end of season review. So until tomorrow for that, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.